Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm so nervous to start. I'm sorry. I'm just in my head. How's it? And welcome to Cha Chat, where we have a chat over cha. My name is Sapna, and I'm your host. And welcome to the first ever episode. And the crowd goes wild. I know, not another podcast. I think it was Bretman Rock who was like, not everybody needs a podcast. Some of y'all need journals. And I agree. We need to start locking up Sure SM7Bs and start giving out therapy. But my therapist and I are on a break, so you get a podcast. I had the idea for this podcast in 2016. And it feels wild because we're in 2024 and I had the idea for this podcast in 2016. And I had even put out a trailer for it in 2018. And then I abandoned it because I'm like, who would want to hear me talk? What could I possibly have to say that is of so much importance that has not already been said? But then again, there's so many bad podcasts out there. So if mine is another one, so be it. I feel like I'm entering a new era of my life. I just turned 28, which is, it's wild to think about because I do not feel 28. I felt perpetually stuck at 17 for the longest time of my life, and that's because of trauma. And now I feel perpetually stuck at 25. So that's progress. I'm getting closer to my actual age. But, progress, yeah. I am going through my Saturn return right now. I'm going through Sadisati. I almost died last year. That's a whole other story. But I feel like I'm entering this phase of my life where I'm just allowing myself to do things, just to try things just because I want to do it. Whether it's, I want to play tennis, so I'm going to play tennis. I want to go horseback riding. I'm going to learn. I want to paint, so I'm going to take paint classes. So this podcast is another extension of that, of just allowing myself to take up space. And I feel like that's my mission for myself for this year, because I have always struggled with taking up space, whether it's in a platonic or romantic setting or familial setting. But I feel like I'm slowly allowing myself to do that. You know what I am? I'm that meme from Uptown Girls where it's like little me having to grow up too soon, and then it's adult me allowing little me to be free. I feel like I'm embracing that because as a child I had to grow up way too soon. And when you are not allowed that freedom to just take up space, to just be a child, to just be free, how do you then become a healthy, functioning adult, So that is what I'm trying to achieve this year, is taking up space. And especially when it comes to romance and friendships, I feel like I've gotten a lot better with taking up space in my friendships. I'm really lucky that I have an amazing support system. I have amazing friends who, some of them are behind the cameras right now. But I feel like romantic settings are definitely where I struggle the most when it comes to taking up space. And I mean, I am almost 30 and I've never been in a long-term relationship. I have only been in one official relationship, and everything else has been toxic situationships or dating that never got to the point of being defined. It just ended before it ever got to that point. I feel like when you've been through trauma a lot in life, you end up reliving those cycles, especially in romantic relationships, especially if you've gone through abuse, because that is what's familiar. That is what's comfortable in a way, even though it's not healthy. And you, at some point, it's not healthy, but it's hard to leave. It's hard to go for something that's healthy because you don't know what that looks like. Like, I don't know what a healthy relationship looks like. And that terrifies me because I want to be in a relationship. I want to be in a healthy relationship, but I don't know what a healthy relationship looks like. And one of my fears is that as deeply as I yearn for a romantic relationship, as deeply as I want a healthy romantic love, that I may never experience it, or that if a healthy romantic love were to come my way, that I would ruin it. In past experiences, it's been like the other person has been the abuser, or the other person has been, the reason why the relationship had to end. And in a way, I had developed a sort of victim complex, or like a survivor complex. And now that I'm unlearning a lot of things, and now that I'm, shout outs to therapy, um, going through being a healthier person, I fear that I might be the walking red flag now. That maybe I've become like an avoidant attachment kind of person. Therapy has helped me a lot. But therapy can only help me to a certain extent. I I hate when my therapist is right, but he says sometimes the only way to get over things is to get through it. You have to actually engage with things to get over the trauma. So to get over the trauma of like abuse and toxicity in romantic settings, I have to put myself out there. I have to experience a healthy love. But I'm like, how do I experience a healthy love if I've never experienced one before? It blows my mind. And so I am putting myself out there. I've been on dating apps. I hate them. Dating sucks. But I'm doing the thing. What's frustrating though is that I'm demisexual, and I so desperately need an emotional and intellectual connection with somebody, and that established bond and safety before I can even think about something sexual, before I'm even attracted to a person, honestly. I need that. But it feels like I am on a train and I'm moving in a completely opposite direction as everybody else is moving. Because when it comes to dating these days, it feels like people want to have sex first. They want something sexual first before even considering a romantic relationship with you. But that doesn't work for me, because because of the trauma that I've had, trigger warning for sexual assault, my first ever sexual experience was being sexually assaulted. And that sticks with you. That touches everything, especially when you're trying to pursue a romantic relationship with somebody. And it feels like when it comes to dating, I am not seen as a person. I want somebody to see me as a person first, rather than a conquest or a piece of meat or a sex toy or something to just take from. And in a way, it feels violent. Dating these days feels violent to me, and I don't know how to navigate that. I don't know how to cope with that. I I look around and I see my friends who are entering romantic relationships that are so loving. So I know that what I'm looking for is out there, but it feels like, is something wrong with me? Is something fundamentally wrong with me? Am I somehow unlovable because of my past experiences of feeling unlovable, of being made to feel like I'm not worthy of love, or I'm only worthy of so much, or feeling like I'm too much, too needy, too disabled, too emotional? And then it feels like, oh, am I somehow barred from love because I have all these layers of trauma? You know what it feels like? In Scott Pilgrim, when Ramona is like, if you want to date me, you need to defeat my 7 evil exes. Yeah, for me, it's like, if you want to date me, you need to get through my 7 layers of lore/trauma. You need to learn how to navigate that first before you can date me. And it's hard, and this is when intersectionality comes into play, because not only am I a queer brown woman, I'm also disabled. I've been through both trauma, toxicity, and abuse in a romantic setting and in a familial setting, and I also have mental health issues. So it feels like, oh, I'm cooked. I am screwed. Like, there is no shot for me, because I feel like I am somehow too much. And that feeling is so terrifying. That feeling is so sickening. And I don't know how to cope with that. I so badly want to be able to be like, yeah, everything will be okay. Or have something to say to people who are feeling the way that I'm feeling. To be like, yeah, I've figured it out. You just need to do X, Y, and Z. But I don't have an answer. And so many times when I ask people, like, where does that leave people like me when we're operating in a world where, sex comes first, or when we're operating in a world where people don't see you as a person and they just want the instant gratification first? And people tell me, oh, you need to love yourself first. Okay, I can kind of understand what they're trying to say. Yeah, I do love myself. I have grown to really love who I am. Do I have a ways to go? Yeah, absolutely. But I've really grown to love the person that I am. But telling me to love myself first feels like such an individualistic take, because loving myself will never self-love will never replace the love of a companion. You cannot self-love yourself out of companionship, out of the desire for companionship. As humans, as people, I feel like we are meant to have connection, to have community, whether that's family, whether that's friendships, whether that's a romantic partner. And it feels like people want to just tell you, oh, you need to love yourself, and tell you how you're doing all of these things wrong, and tell you, like, oh, take my self-love classes. You just want to make money off of me. I want real answers. And it's so disheartening to know that being loved, being in a romantic relationship, is not in my control. It's out of my hands, because I can't force somebody to love me. I can't love somebody into loving me. I can't love myself into somebody loving me. I can only just operate how I'm operating and continue to, work on things, work through my trauma and therapy, work through engaging with things in the real world and in life, and putting myself out there and hoping that I meet somebody who will look past my trauma, who will look past the things that plague me, and will see past that and love me. But I also want somebody to love me not in spite of, but love me with my trauma, love me with my disability, somebody who cares for me. And that goes back to my friendships. I feel like my friends have really raised the bar for me when it comes to romantic relationships, because they love me to an extent that a romantic partner would. And I love my friends to an extent that I would a romantic partner. We love each other deeply and show up for each other in ways that a romantic partner would. And that doesn't replace a romantic partner either. Like, as deep as my friendships are, as loving as my friendships are, that also will not replace the role and the position of a romantic partner. But my friends have really raised the bar for me. I mean, they create a space for me to feel safe. They create a space for me to feel affirmed. They show up for me in so many ways. I have felt so embarrassed or guilty about being disabled around other people when I have a flare up, or when I need to stop walking because my heart rate is too high, or when I'm about to faint. I get embarrassed, but my friends have made me feel so affirmed and have showed up for me in so many ways. I mean, I was in the hospital last year, and Ryan, who's behind the camera right now, came all the way out to Queens to the ER to make sure that I was okay. And they didn't even let them in. But they still showed up for me. My friend Tyler, she last year for my birthday, she bought me a sketchbook where I could draw in. And she created prompts on each and every single page, handwritten, for things for me to draw. And she bought me markers that were thick enough so that if I was having a high pain day, it would be easy for me to hold on to. She thought that far into like, okay, what is easy for her to do if she's in a lot of pain? And at that time during my birthday last year, I was bedbound. I was on bed rest. I could not go anywhere. I could not do much. I could barely walk. So having somebody think that much for me, it really raised the bar for me. It makes me have a model of like, oh yeah, if a romantic partner cannot treat me with as much respect or as much love or as much care and consideration as my friends do, then this is not somebody I want to be in a romantic relationship with. So I'm lucky that I have the friends that I do, but it's still disheartening to be lonely, to be alone and to not have that romantic relationship. I am trying to decenter romance from my life in a way. I love love. I love romance. It has been something that I've always loved since I was a child. But I know that there's a part of me that felt like romantic love would save me. That if only I could be loved romantically, then that is proof that I'm worth loving. That is proof that, oh, I can be loved, that I'm worthy of love, that I'm deserving of love. If I am loved in a romantic setting, I will be saved somehow. But I've come to realize how unhealthy that is and how maladaptive that is and how a lot of people who have been through trauma experience that. I think that's also why I am obsessed with romance books, because I can experience that love that I am seeking in a safe setting where I don't have to actually engage with anything. And it's like a secondhand high. My friends have really shown me what it means to be loved, because to be loved is to be known. And I feel like my friends have really taken the effort to know me, to see me as a person. And I think when it comes to dating, that's something that's hard for me as well, is because I want to be known, but it's so hard to get to know somebody in such a short amount of time. It's so hard to get to know somebody on dating apps because things start off really great and then they fizzle out. Or they start off really great and then you find something out about them and you get the ick and you're like, oh, never mind. Or they say something wild and you're like, never mind. I told a man that I was demisexual, and then immediately after he said something like, so you can suck my right? I'm like, what the what is wrong with you? What happened to decorum? What happened to hi, hello, how are you? And that's not the first incident that something like that has happened. I've had so many times where on a dating app, I'm just trying to get to know somebody. And then out of left field, out of nowhere, they pull up with something sexual. And I'm like, okay, great. You just ruined the whole thing. It's done. It's cut. I want to have hope that the love that I'm looking for, that I'm seeking, is out there. It's hard to have hope though. A lot of days I do have hope. A lot of days I can feel like, yeah, I exist. My friends exist. So the love that I'm seeking has to be out there somewhere. But there are many days where it feels like that same thing of, is there something wrong with me? Am I too broken to be loved? Will I ever be loved? Will I ever have that love that I'm seeking? Because there are people who go through life never experiencing that. There are people who die before ever having been in a relationship, before even having love or anything like that. So what makes me the exception? And so I'm trying to make peace with that, trying to make peace with the fact that romance and love will not save me, but it's also something that I've admitted to myself that I deeply want. But I have no answers in how to get that. I have no answers or comfort to give to people of who are feeling the way that I'm feeling. But I think I do want to let people know, people who feel like me. I've had friends who have talked to me about how they feel, that they feel the same way that I feel. I've helped friends realize that they're also demisexual. But the only thing that I can offer is like, you're not alone. And that doesn't feel like an entire comfort. It's a small comfort, but it's a comfort all the same, I think. It comforts me knowing that I'm not alone. And I think trauma should not bar us from the experience of love. I think too often people don't want to learn how to navigate trauma with other people. People don't want to learn how to love and show up for and care for people in like when it comes to dating now. It's just very fast. It's very like, oh, you have trauma, bye. Oh, you did this one thing wrong, bye. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. And I have no answers. That is a very depressing thought to think about. And this feels like a very heavy first episode, but these are my thoughts. Hopefully as these episodes go on, that it gets smoother and maybe less heavy. But I also want this podcast to be a safe space for other people like me, for my friends, for my community, to feel seen and to feel comforted by something. Um, I want this podcast to be something that I wish I had. So I'm making it because there's so many podcasts out there, but I've felt comforted by very few of them. So I feel like I have to make this. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Woo-hoo! Thank you for being here. This was a bit messy of an episode, but stay tuned for episode 2, where I have a very special guest. Thank you. Bye. I don't know how to end an episode. I need to learn how to create an ending. Damn, what was I gonna say? Yeah, very ADHD friendly. Gonna rename this from Cha Chat to the ADHD friendly podcast.